Hello. So today is Thursday, April 16th, 2026. And just real quick, just to give you a little bit of an update on um, workouts and so forth. As I mentioned in the last installment, I am now focusing on my diet. I pretty much just started cutting weight right after Easter dinner. Always a good idea if you're going to start a diet to like pick a day or a meal that you know you're going to weigh pretty heavy on and say, okay, like this is the starting point. It makes the numbers jump the right direction pretty quickly. So on what day was that? So Easter Sunday was what, April 5th, I think. After dinner, I weighed 206.6, which is pretty hefty for me. Um, so I started doing my diet the following day, and just to give you some idea of what my dieting looks like. I've always been a calories in, calories out guy. I've listened to various diets come along over the last 30 years. I've tried some of them. I did Atkins, in college, and who knows what else I've tried. But for me, the bottom line is calories in, calories out. And you can cut it and slice it and dice it any way that you want. But that's what's always worked for me. So it's really just about drastically reducing the number of calories that you bring in a day and then working in some cardio and knocking off the sweets and some of those sugars that just won't allow your body to stay in fat burning mode. Um, what I do is I'll have something simple for breakfast. So right now I'm just doing like oatmeal with a little bit of like blueberries thrown in. And then for lunch, I will drink some version. I'm not going to show you the label because I don't want to get into copyright stuff, but some sort of a protein shake. That this one has looks like 160 calories and 30 grams of protein in it, um, and that's my lunch. And then if I get hungry before the workday is kind of done, I might grab an apple, like say in the like 3 or 4 o'clock time frame. But that's it until dinner. Now the good news is I pretty much eat for the most part whatever I want for dinner, and the only difference being there's no desserts. I try to like make it reasonable, right? Don't eat total garbage, and don't if you can avoid like fries and that kind of thing, I would do that as well. But at the end of the day, it ends up being, I would say, about a 2,000 to 2,500 calorie diet a day. And couple that with, again, I've been getting back into running a little bit, and I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm doing like, for the first week or two, I was just doing a mile each day. Still just testing out the hip to see how the hip does. And so far, so good. I graduated on to about 2 miles each day about a week ago, and so far I feel great. Just doing 2 miles a day. My times are starting to get a little better, and I'm happy to report that after what is this, day 11 of my diet, I've lost over 11 pounds. I'm at like 195.4 is what I weighed today. So I know it's not the same for everybody, but I really do think there is something to be said for just flipping the switch and making up your mind that you want to do it. And if you do, then I don't think there's anything that can stop anybody. Just avoid all of those, traps, falling back into eating, ice cream and candy and all of that nonsense. Just cut it out, get to the number that you want to get to, and then, you can slowly reintroduce that stuff. But to me, it's just, I try to do this once or twice a year at most. Like, take 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and just get to the number, and then, you know, live a normal life after that for the most part. Just be reasonable. So that's the diet. But today I kind of wanted to focus a little bit on, I mentioned talking a little bit about my personal history, and why I think, when I first started this, I mentioned that I thought there were two audiences that I kind of pictured in my head that could get something out of this. And the first one is men of a certain age who are dealing with, things being taken away from them. In my case, my wrist and some other little injuries have started to kind of creep up on me as I've gotten closer to 50. And so a lot of this is about that, right? Just trying to figure out new ways to deal with that stuff. The other audience that I thought might have an interest in this are, maybe some like teenagers or some early 20s, even mid 20s, whatever it might be. Some guys that maybe don't have all the confidence in the world. And I think that, life today is confusing. We're a instant gratification society. I think, social media, we can have that argument all day about, what that's done to the psyche of not just young men, but like people in general, but in particular young men. I see a lot of them. I hang out with a lot of them, and I see a lot of the things that really consumed me as a young man that I struggled to get past. And I feel like maybe some of them could use a little bit of just these kinds of things, like the working out and, not necessarily even bench press, just, working out. I think something that you can control, I guess. So when I was about 20, my roommates got me into working out, and my one roommate in particular was obsessed with Arnold's pumping iron. And I think it was pumping iron, and I think it was Arnold that said in there that, it's not necessarily about working out in order to achieve like becoming Mr. Olympia or whatever that, bodybuilding scene is. It's not what it's about. He said that what you should hope to get out of it is to discover what your maximum potential is. Now, when you're talking about your potential, you're also talking about limitations as far as your DNA, your genetic code, right? And I think a lot of people use that as a crutch. They just say, well, I look at my dad or my grandparents or whoever it might be, and they say, they were built like this, I'm built like this is who I am. And they don't try to get any better. So I kind of wanted to go over my family history a little bit, just to kind of look at what makes up my DNA and how I chose to kind of do what Arnold said, which is just, let's see what I can do. What is my maximum potential? Like, what can I become? What, I am not, as you'll see, I wasn't gifted, the DNA of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But that journey of trying to discover the best version of myself gave me confidence that I couldn't have imagined, because I was definitely lacking for confidence in my teen years. They were awkward, and I needed something. And so I'm very grateful to my roommates for dragging me to the weight room, for teaching me about lifting and the benefits of it. And so, without further ado, let's take a look at some of these pictures that I'm talking about. So, I have 40 pictures that I've selected. The first few are going to be just about looking at my grandparents, my dad, what I know about my own personal genetic code, just looking at these pictures, and then looking at my pictures when I was young. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Some of these are hard to look at. They were some cringy years. And even after I started working out, there are some cringy pictures in here that I took, and I'll explain, why. It's not vanity, trust me. But, well, let's just get into it. All right, so I'm going to now show you 40 pictures that I hope will tell you a little bit of a story about who I am and what makes me me. All right, let's start with my grandfather on my dad's side. All right, it's Sim. He here is probably, let's see, this picture was from 1936. So my grandfather was born in 1925. So this picture makes him about 11 years old. Cute kid, big ears. You're going to see a theme here with skinniness and big ears. All right, next. I don't have a whole lot of pictures of him when he was kind of a teenager. Wish I did. This picture I think was taken, let's see, what was the date on this one? I've got it sometime in the early 1950s, so he would probably be about 25 here. Now, not the skinniest, but, this was a different era too, so, it's not like they were, hitting the gym here in the early 50s. Okay, what's next? Let's see, I thought I had another. Guess I didn't have anything else. Oh wait, so this picture here is him in about 1970, which makes him about 45, if my math's right. So a little younger than I am at this point, but you can see he was a skinnier guy. Now he did go through some phases where he did balloon up a little bit. I think he got to like 230, 240 pounds, and he wasn't a tall guy. He was probably right at 6 foot, if I remember. So he did get heavier, but who amongst us? Okay, here's another picture of him holding me in 1977. So you can see it's about the same build that he pretty much had, most of the time that I knew him when I was younger anyway. And then as he got older, he got really frail. Let's see, what else? Here is a picture of him with his brother in about 1982. And you can see him on the left, still pretty frail. He's sitting with his brother here, incidentally, who had a heart attack and died about, I think it was 7 years later, something like that. Which brings me to point number one. Like, pay attention to your family's medical history, right? So one of the things that I learned is that heart issues do run in my family, specifically on my dad's side. My grandfather, who you see here, had I think a triple bypass, maybe a quadruple bypass in his late 70s. Now he was also a lifetime cigar smoker. He gave that up after the heart surgery, but he had some heart issues. His brother had a heart attack. Their father died at like 41. Is that right? Something like that. They were young. My grandfather, I think, was 15 years old when his dad died of a heart attack. Um, and then my uncle, who he's sitting here with, had three sons, and two of them have already passed with heart failure. So something to learn from that side of the family. Okay, anything else that I wanted to show you from them? Let's see. Here is my grandfather, same grandfather with me in like 19, I'll say 92, 93, somewhere in there. What's the date on this one? Let's see. I have the date as 1994. So, grunge is in here, clearly. We were both really into it. Okay. Anything else for him? I don't think so. I think that's probably it. Okay. So now let's look at my grandfather on my mother's side. And I have even less of him. He was born in 1904, and he died when I was like about one, a little over one, so I really don't have any memories of him. But as you can see here, another very thin guy with big ears. So there he is with my grandmother. This picture was taken in 1957, so this would have made him about 52, 53. And then here is another one from 1962. So again, big ears, frail. Okay. Is that it for him? Let's see. I think so. All right. Let's look at my dad. Okay. Here's my dad with his brother. This was taken in 1964, so he would have almost been 10 years old. He's the one on the left with skinny arms and big ears. And then here's another picture of him. Actually, he was younger here, so 1960. Skinny. Ornery. Here he is at about 12 years old. Tall, lanky. Here he is at about 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. Standing beside his uncle, who, according to him, was more like a grandfather to him. He was, interestingly enough, he was a Bennett, so he was on my dad's mom's side, and they were typically a little larger people. They had, a little heftier build. So it's funny because like you can see some of the kids, some of the cousins, like kind of lean that direction, a little thicker builds. My one brother had a thicker build when he was growing up. He's not a big guy by any means, but you could just tell that he got kind of that Bennett family DNA. Okay, what else? So here is Dad in 1972, which would have made him not quite 18 years old. Looks like he's going to prom here. You can see skinny. Here is Dad this is actually on his honeymoon in 1974. So at this point, he's 19, not quite 20. It's my mom in the picture with him, also thin. I think that's all I had for Dad. Okay. All right, now we're going to get into the awkward stuff. So looking at me when I was a kid, This is me in 1981. So this would have been, I was not quite 5 years old. Normal, skinny kid, whatever. And then, let's see, what did I have next? I wish I'd put these in order. That would have been much easier. Okay. This is me at not quite 13. You can see, very skinny, a lot of hair, big ears. This one was taken, I think, a few weeks after that. This is me on my 13th birthday. Very pale, skinny, big ears, a lot of hair. Starting to get into the awkward years where I was starting to lose confidence. So, and it just gets worse. All right. This is me at 14. I think this was confirmation or graduation from 8th grade. I'm not sure. This is me when my sister was born, probably within the same couple of weeks. This is me first day of high school. Oof. Rough. Okay, and that just leads on to even more, freshman year. You can really see the confidence in my eyes at this point. Here's a vacation from that same year in June 1992. I was a rail. Okay. Then let's see, sophomore year, not any better. Okay. Okay, let's see, JV baseball, 1993. That hat sure fit very well. Here is my junior year. Still pretty rough. I think this was taken on a vacation in 1994, June 1994. Look at them legs. So I had, I think it was like a 26-inch waist or something. Let's see, and then, did I miss anything? Yeah, and then my senior year, here's my senior pictures. Not bad, I mean, Photoshop stuff, not Photoshop, but whatever they do to clear things up. I had acne pretty bad. And then, close up, you can still see how skinny I was. And then, great sideburns. This was the 90210 era, I guess, where sideburns came back, and I was very excited about that. Okay. And then on to college. So I think that this picture was taken just before I really started working out. And you see I started to put just a little bit of weight on. So this would have been my the summer after my freshman year of college, right? So still skinny, but I was starting to fill out just a little bit. Okay, now this picture was taken February 11th, 1998. So the reason we were taking these pictures was we were entering, I think it was like EAS had a contest. It was like a 10 or 12 week before and after program thing where you would send your pictures in before and after, and they would pick some winners, and I don't even remember what the prize was, but this was my roommate talking me into things. I remember laughing hysterically taking these pictures. It was very hard to keep a straight face. But I show you that because this is the final picture. All right, Still not great, but this was taken July of 1998. So what is that? 4 months after the first one was taken. Um, yeah, you can see I've got some actual muscle, and this was really for me the time it was like, I didn't always see it, but I would go home on the weekends and people would be like, Jesus, like you put some muscle on, and then I got addicted to it. Um, and then from there, let's see, what else did I have? After that, this was Christmas time. Yeah, I decided I was comfortable enough, like just going shirtless for Christmas. I was kind of a d-bag, we'll be honest. And then right after that was we did um, New Year's down in New Orleans. That was fun, for 2000. So, you know, again, I got way too comfortable not wearing a shirt, but hey, I grew up really skinny, so I was excited to show it off a little bit. And then, yeah, after that, let's see, did I get everything? After that, it was really just, this was 2003. That's my brother in the background. Um, let's see, I think this picture was taken. Again, I don't even know why I took this picture, but this was taken in about 2005. So this was probably about the height of like my bench press. And I think the most I ever bench pressed was like 310. You saw the before pictures, so it was a lot to me. Here we are in 2007, my brother and I showing off the pipes. And this was taken like about that same time, 2007. And then finally, my brother and I again, this was September 2007. So at this point, I'm 30 years old, and I was in pretty good shape. I was proud of that journey, I guess. But also, the confidence that I gained was massive. So I guess that's what I just want you to take away from this. If you're young and you're looking for something, again, that you can take control of, that will give you the confidence that I again, when you're that age, it's tough. I know it's tough. But I think it's also character building, right? Like, I look back on some of the guys I went to high school with, and it's like, if they were good looking and put together when they were in high school, they kind of peaked early, right? I developed, a personality to match, or really to hide a lot of my insecurities. I found people that filled me with positivity, something I just didn't have and desperately needed. And I rebuilt my my passions around positivity. And all of this, in my mind, came from working out. So that's my message for today. I hope somebody took something away from that. And, I don't know. I don't know what else I want to say about it, but it's been fun to kind of look back on these and remember how I felt at different points. You can just see it in my eyes when I was just not confident. And I still go through phases where, I struggle with confidence, but it's not that hard to change how you feel about yourself. You just got to take control of it. So, okay, I am headed to Reno this week, so I probably won't have an update for a couple weeks, but I'll let you know how the diet's going, and I'm going to continue to work out and try to figure out ways that I can kind of work around my wrist stuff, which just started just in the last couple of days, kind of taking a step backward, started to hurt a little bit again. Kind of it looks like about every 5 weeks, these cortisone shots are going to kind of wear off. So I'm just going to have to make do with that. But it's nice to have a 5 week window that I can get some things done and kind of catch my breath with it. So that's all I got for you today. I will check in with you here in a couple. Thanks.